that experience seems like over and over whenever I go into institutions. Even some teachers down here and at North Texas State when I got my certification for administration there. I consider it a challenge rather than seeing it as pure negative. It's a challenge for me to be better.
When you were before the desegregation began, were your teachers preparing you guys for it? I mean, everybody knew it was coming. I guess as a baby boomer, everybody knew it was coming. So what sorts of things were maybe your teachers or your parents or community members of the church saying about what to anticipate and how to handle it?
Well, the teachers, there were some teachers would tell us, you better learn it here. You need to study. You need to do better, because when you get over there, they don't care who you are. They're going to fail you. If you deserve a failing grade, you're going to get it. Whereas in our community, they felt at liberty to go to the parents. Mm-hmm. Whereas over there, they're not going to come and talk to your parent. They're not going to come to your home and tell your parent what you did. They're just going to give you the grades, and then whatever shows up on the grade, that's what it is. So we had some who were telling us, a lot of the habits you have, you need to not do those habits, because when you get over there, it's going to be different. It's going to be different. So I think that's why when I went over early, well, how is it? How is it different? What are they doing different than we're doing over here? And pretty much it wasn't that they were doing a lot different. The level of competition was just greater because there was more students. Right. But it wasn't that they were doing anything differently than what the black teachers were doing.
So Joe Tave, a friend of yours, a friend of ours, he's a year older, 2 years older?
Joe is about 2 years older.
Were you guys friends in that back then?
Yes, we were. As a matter of fact, during those preteen years, when we had the In-Crowd Club, Joe and I, even at that early age, I may have been 14, maybe 15. I don't even think I was that old. But anyway, as I said, we didn't have a social gathering place. So Joe and I one summer decided, well, let's have a street party, because I think then the song was out, Dancing in the Street. Martha Vandella's Dancing in the Street. Well, let us have a street party.
We need a soundtrack for your life.
And so Joe and I said, well, okay, what do we need to do? We decided what street we wanted, which the street I lived on was a popular street. Well, let's block off Freeman Street, because everybody tends to come on that street. And we went to City Hall to find out, well, we want to have a block party.
You were how old?
13, 14, 15, wow. Somewhere in there. I know. In fact, Joe and I talk about that now. We say, how did we know to do that? How did we even know we had to go someplace to get permission? But if we had a street party, where were we going to get the electricity and all of that to play our records? So we went to City Hall and just went up there, just Joe and I, and told them we wanted to have a street party on a certain weekend and where we wanted to have it. And I don't remember who we talked to, but they came out and looked at the location. They said, no, that would stop the flow of traffic. So what if you had it at the end of the street, which went down and made a little curve like a horseshoe? If you have it down there, there was a city pole with the light on it. Well, you can just use our electricity and we'll make sure the light is on, and then people will have a place to park and all of that. And that was fantastic.
Wow.
And so they blocked off the street, so traffic couldn't flow through, but people could come and park and then walk into the little circle where we had our party. And he and I still marvel at that. How did we know? How did we know what to do?
And it was a big hit.
It obviously. Yeah. Oh yes. So we did things like that, and it was wonderful.
The inequities that you saw in the community, it sounds like they were primarily the neglect that happens under Jim Crow.
Yes.
I asked you about Joe Tave because he said that a moment of anger that he remembers it was wanting to be a doctor and walking into, for some reason, the science lab at the Mineola's White High School, and seeing that they had multiple new microscopes that everybody had access to, and remembering that at his school he had 1 and 27 students to look through the glass of a broken down microscope, and he knew at that point that there may be some gaps that I cannot fill no matter how hard I work. And I assume that he, like you, just always a hard-working thinking person. What did you notice about the difference in the facilities? And it sounds like it didn't so much make you mad as made you work hard. Of course, he did the same with him, but.
Well, first, when I was at the black school, every year we would get the secondhand books where, where in the cover of the book you write your name and the year. When we would get the books, virtually there's no place for us to write our name because all the lines had been used. That meant they had used those books for years, passed them on to us. So at the beginning of school, at the black school, it was always a mad dash trying to get the best book. Rather than
the competition was there.
That competition, exactly, to try to get a better book, so you wouldn't have missing pages and this, that, and the other. When I went to the white school, my name would be the first one on the line. Wow, that felt so good. I have a brand new book, and that was the first time I had a new book. When I went over there to get a fresh book with my name, and it was like everybody else will see my name when they get this book, not me having to find a place to put my name. But the same thing, the building was a lot larger. The facilities and the equipment obviously was great. In biology, I remember having to go and catch flying insects and label them and all of that. We didn't even have nets, to do that kind of thing at our school. We did not.
How'd you do it?
We didn't.
You did? Okay.
That was the first time I did it when I went to the other school. The microscopes, like he said, we had one, and everybody had to share to look at whatever. We just didn't have the resources for us to have individual, or even to work in pairs. I think the most exciting thing to me was when you have a coin and it's some solution you put on it and make it look brand new, shiny. That was fascinating at the black school. That was the most scientific thing we had to see it actually change. It was enough of that solution for everybody to take out a coin and make it new, look brand new. But over at the other school, bisecting frogs, no, first time I did it was over there. I had never heard of anything like that. So definitely in that area, as far as in math, I noticed that having the protractors and compasses and things like that, we didn't need that over at our school. Never knew what it, I had seen it, but didn't know you used it in math. We just didn't have it. And I guess with the teachers knowing our parents could have afford to purchase certain items, we just didn't use them. But definitely the band room, all of the various instruments, French horns.
The uniform?
Oh my gosh. Oh, the uniforms. You're absolutely right. The band uniforms. Everything was better. Yeah. Everything.
So when you went over to this school as part of this voluntary group, and some were saying, why are you doing that? I'm going to stay as long as I can. Was there some talk about is there any talk about race traitor kind of thing? Or not?
Well, yes, some kids called us a traitor, but I think really they knew, because I didn't get a lot of that. But yes, there were some kids who would say, yeah, she's over at the white school. Yeah, she wanted to go over. You know, we're not going to. We have to go over. But yes, a traitor. I was called a traitor. Yeah, you know, we're not good enough for you over here. You're going over there. But them not knowing, but then my defense was, well, I didn't choose to go.
Yeah.
You know, I did choose to go, but
You were selected.
Mr. Watson asked me to go over there and talk to my parents and everything.
And you guys are all going to have to go anyway.
Exactly.
So.
And then it's better to go on now, get it over with, and you know, not wait to the last minute to have to go over and face whatever it is then. But then all of the, I guess, the what ifs I didn't have when they came over. Then they were coming to me, well, how do you do this? And how is that teacher? And how, you know,
Yeah.
I was
Really
the big
smart
person
idea
on
for them to
campus. You know, they would come to me and ask me questions. Where's the cafeteria? Or how do you do this? Who do you talk to for that? So I think it worked out in my advantage. Now, when I was in the band, being the only black, we used to go to parades a lot. You know, the sweet potato parade in Gilmer, whatever. You know, all the little festivals. The band traveled a lot. And in football games. I remember when we had to go to Grand Saline. Grand Saline was that place, blacks don't stop through there. And even on the train, if you go through Grand Saline, you're supposed to pull down your shade so that the people in the city wouldn't see that there were blacks on the train. You know, you just didn't want to be seen in Grand Saline. So we played Grand Saline, and I had to, in football. So me being in the band, I'm having to go to Grand Saline. I'm the only black. And this was before the football team was there. And my parents talked about not allowing me to go, you know, not knowing what was going to happen. And Mr. Watson and the principal assured her that, my mother and dad, that they would go to the game and they would be there. And Joe Tave rode with Mr. Watson to the game. And even though Joe and I grew up in the same hometown and we did things together, I guess we took it for granted, you know, our friendship, because being all of us living on the same side of town, you're just friends. But I didn't know what an active role Joe took in me integrating until years later. You know, I was just going about my daily routine, surviving, doing what I had to do. But I found out later, Mr. Watson told me that he and Joe Tave went to the game, sat in their cars, because then you could sit in your car and look through the gate, because they wanted to have an overall view of what was going on in case anything happened. You know, they wouldn't be inside Grand Saline Stadium as well, because then it would just be a few of us in there. But anyway, nothing happened. Nothing happened. It was a positive experience in that I think Grand Saline was the first football game. And at the black school, you know, our stadiums were smaller. The fields were not in good condition. So when we went to Grand Saline and seeing their band over there, I'll say maybe it was 60, 70. Our black band might have been 30, 20 to 30 kids in it. But seeing those wonderful uniforms, me being in the wonderful band uniform, it was like, wow, you know, what a difference. As the proverbial saying, the difference was black and white. You know, it was so different. And just hearing that band over there play, because you can always hear the band across coming to you, they sound so good. It was like, wow, I sure wish everybody, you know, at McFarland could hear this band. And then when we played, I felt we sound just as good, the Mineola High School band. And it was like, man, I'm in this wonderful band. I sure wish everybody at McFarland could see this, you know. It was just exciting in a quiet kind of way, because I felt I needed to be reserved, you know, because who was I going to share that with? The others couldn't understand that feeling, that feeling I was experiencing, because that was what they experienced all the time.
Yeah.
So But it was like, wow, I sure wish I could share this. I wish they were here to see this and to be a part of this.
Wow.
But it was just me. And I remember in one of the parades, me having my clarinet going, marching down. I remember there was a little kid on the side. Mommy, there's a nigger in their band.
Wow. So not with hate, but just with marvel.
Yeah, there's a nigger in their band.
Wow.
And, we were taught, not to look around and all that, but my eyes looked over and said, who said that? And of course, the little kid. And the mom, I remember seeing the mom, because he was pointing, there's a nigger. And the mom pulled the little boy's hand down, but I went proudly marching, just playing. But that sticks out because no malice, just shocked to see a black person in the band.
Words in his mouth, not because he put it there.
But I had basically positive experiences. And I don't know, when you fit in, so to speak, when you're just like everybody else, it's normal. It's only when you are not like everybody else that it kind of stands out. And it was as though my color didn't matter. It's like, what can you do? And I never got the impression from the teachers or anybody that you're less than because...
You wouldn't believe them anyway.
I wouldn't.
That's right.
And I performed to that level, so it was never like, well, you're not doing what you're supposed to do. So I never got that. But when everybody came over, then I started hearing different stories. Those who were not academically inclined, the work was harder. Then you started hearing the complaints.
Were your parents from Mineola, or had you guys been there a long time?
Mm-hmm. My mother grew up in Golden, Texas, very much segregated during the day, and my father was from Jamestown, Texas. But yes, they lived in Mineola. I was born and raised there.
And what brought them to Mineola? And how far away are the communities where they were raised?
Golden, probably about 5 miles from Mineola. Jamestown, maybe 15 miles. From Mineola. So I think it was the work. There was a pea factory, a bean factory in Mineola. So people kind of would come there to get work.
Is that how a lot of the black community came together there?
Yes, Benham's, a bean factory.
Okay.
Dry beans and peas, popcorn, that kind of thing. So the packaging and distribution of all of that. Yeah, but that's where they were.
And you and your brother very close?
Very close. Oh my gosh, yes. Hence McKissic, we call him Bubba. Because my sister is about 8 years older. So, as you can imagine, when I was about 8, I think, or 10, she was getting married. After high school, she married and moved to Sioux City, Iowa. So that left me and my brother. We are 18 months apart. So wherever you saw me, you saw him, and vice versa. I would go to the barber shop with him to get haircuts. He would go with me to the beauty shop. We were just always together, and still very close to this day.
And he's here with you today?
Yes, he's here.
So did you guys, why East Texas State University? There was the Black College, Texas College was pretty close, right? And had you thought that you might go there, or were you always thinking you go further?
Do you know, I never ever thought about going to a black college. Once integration started, a black college never entered my mind. And I had gone to Jarvis, I had gone to Texas College, because at the black school, we would go to the black colleges for homecomings and march in their parades, that kind of thing. But when I was there, I remember going to the dorm at Prairie View. And there were about 4 kids in a room, bunk beds, and I just didn't like the living conditions. Everything seemed to be crowded and just wasn't what I wanted. I didn't dwell on it, but I remember going to the white school, and the band there, we would come to Commerce for competition. And I saw this beautiful, wide open campus. Went to the dormitories, only 2 people in the room, clean and, room to spread out. And so after I came up here, it never dawned on me to go anyplace else. And I went to Stephen F. Austin, Sam Houston, a lot of places. But when I came on this campus, it felt like this is where I want to be. Plus, Joe Tate was here.
Oh, okay. And he had, what brought him here was apparently a similar experience. He's looking at our dorms here versus
Yes.
the dorms at, was it Wiley? And he's,
Wiley College, yes. Wiley, Prairie View, Jarvis.
one phone for the whole, no way.
Yes,
And then I
yes.
compare it again and again. It's the cafeteria and it's that big salad that gets all the
Yes.
boys.
It was all of that, all of that.
Yeah.
Everybody having to use this one restroom, you know, all of the stalls and the showers. And then over here when I came, 2 people, 1 bathroom, you know, and then you have your own shower right there, closets, and oh no. You know, I've just always wanted better. And wherever that better was, that's where I want it to be.
If it's not exactly already the better that you want, you'll make it
Yes,
better.
yes. You know, how can I help to make it better? And I think that was part of me joining the sorority. There was no sorority here. Again, it was like coming from Mineola. Even though these things were at East Texas State, we were not always welcome. So, you know, just like in Mineola, we had nowhere to go. There was a park in Mineola, but we could not go to the park. There were places the white kids would go to the bowling alley, like the Dairy Queen or whatever, but we didn't have cars to drive to those places to hang out. So it was like coming here, even though it was larger and it had those things, the blacks were not welcome. In those places.
It was passed. We were desegregated, so they should have been open, but they weren't.
Right.
Okay.
And they were open if you were brave enough to go there, but not wanting to be caught up in fights and negative things happening, you just didn't go. So with the sorority, it's like, oh, okay, if we have our own sorority, then we can have our socials, our dances, our fashion shows, whatever it is we're interested in, we can have our own and don't have to worry about filling out a place someplace else.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we'll just create our own, just like we did in Mineola.
So how did you decide which chapter you would want to establish first? You ended up establishing the first African-American sorority on our campus, right?
Right. Well, that was the only one.
That's the only
And they
one.
put in the application to start a sorority. So that was it. But I think that would have been my choice anyway, even after Delta came on.
So it was, I'm getting mixed up then. It was already just barely on campus. It had just
It
been
wasn't on
established.
campus.
Okay.
When I came, there was no sorority.
Okay.
And through conversation, just like in Mineola, some girls started getting together. Well, why don't we apply to get our own sorority? Because we would go to some of the meetings, you know, we would go to some of the events the other sororities were having. But, you know,